So what I did was, it's kind of interesting. I bought the car and I made a pact to myself. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm giving financial advice and recommendations in the community and around the country where I was living. And I'm like, I don't feel good with myself right now. Like plus, JD, they tack on, the total bill is about 41,000 after all the
penalties, interest.
Yeah.
Not a good feeling.
No. So here's what I did. I had 2 real estate properties. One was my primary residence and one was my an investment property. Okay. And I said I had about $650,000 of debt on my liability side. I'm like, I'm out. I'm just going to become debt free. So I sold both homes and then I moved to the Grand Cayman Islands for a couple months. And I just, I reset. And this is where my story gets so cool is I remember my mom gave me a bookmark for my Bible when I was like 2 years old. And it said Paul on it. And then it defined what Paul meant. And Paul meant small. And I was always like, I'm not small, I'm big, but it was like small. And then it said, but large in the eyes of God. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to show my friends this one, but I'm going to tuck it into my Bible. So what happened in the Grand Cayman Islands, full circle, from 3 years old to about 36 years old, I'm 39 today, is I went for a swim out in the Grand Cayman Islands, and I went out about 200 yards, and on my way back, the water temperatures were just about perfect, just over 80 degrees. Is awesome. And man, I was like a really good swimmer because I practiced a lot, and I came back and I'd see all these cool colored fish, and the depth was really deep and I could see every direction. And I'm just like, I saw some stingray, and then as I was getting closer to shore, I saw more and more colorful fish I'd never seen before. And I had this moment right before I popped out of the water where I'm like, man, in the grand scheme of things, I'm so small. I popped out of the water, had like a cocktail of my choice with some whipped cream on it, and changed my life.
That's awesome. So the passion that you have for value and creating value for the clients and what we do at Croft is really related to your own personal story. And I think that's what's very powerful. And what we want a lot of people to understand is, look, we know what it's like to get a penalty notice. We know what it's like, you do personally, about having a lien, and like, stuff is scary, and we want to be the partner. We want to be your partners in creating value for you. So I think that's where we got that first core value. And if you haven't figured out yet, Paul is the incredible storyteller, which I think a lot of CEOs have that ability to tell stories and the details and like the color of the fish and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I just like lose myself in your stories sometimes, But yeah, so our first value is create. Our first core value is creating value for you in your business. Our second one is vibe. Why don't you tell me a little bit about vibe? Why did we pick vibe?